surviving the Bermuda Triangle, eyewitness stories, and the myth that won't die. Imagine you're flying over the ocean, blue skies ahead, nothing but a smooth ride home. Then, your instruments flicker. The radio crackles into static. The ocean below turns into a black void. Time skips. You land, only to realize that you just traveled 100 miles in mere minutes. Sounds like the beginning of a sci-fi movie, right? Except this actually happened. At least that's what the pilot says. Well, welcome to the Bermuda Triangle, the world's most mysterious stretch of ocean, where ships vanish, planes disappear, and depending on who you ask, the laws of physics go on vacation. Some say it's a portal to another dimension. Others blame aliens. And science? Well, science rolls its eyes. But whether you believe it or not, the stories just keep coming. And today we're diving into some of the strangest first-hand accounts from people who live to tell the tale. Plus, where's this whole Bermuda Triangle legend even coming from? Because believe it or not, it wasn't always a thing. Long before the alien abduction theories, History Channel documentaries, and a plethora of sometimes questionable YouTube videos, we have Christopher Columbus. You remember him, famous for discovering a place that already had people in it, for being really bad at geography. In 1492, Columbus and his crew were sailing through what we now call the Bermuda Triangle when they noticed strange lights on the horizon, flashes of what looked like fire hovering over the water. Their compasses? Completely unreliable. Was it a magnetic anomaly? A mirage? Ball lightning? Or the first recorded case of sailors seeing a squadron of alien spaceships? Well, we'll never know. But we do know that this is the first in a long line of weird reports. Fast forward a few hundred years. By the 20th century, ships and planes had been disappearing in the region for decades. Nobody really thought it was unusual because, let's be honest, the old-timey transportation systems were basically a gamble with nature. Back then, people were disappearing while traveling all the time. Then, in 1950, an Associated Press reporter named E.V.W. Jones noticed something. He wrote a piece highlighting how an unusual number of ships and planes had vanished without a trace between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, then drew a map outlining the area with a bunch of ominous dotted lines. A few years later, journalist George X. Sand, which, by the way, sounds like a name straight out of a pulp detective novel. Well, anyway, George wrote in Fate magazine about the mysterious watery triangle swallowing up vessels. But it still wasn't the Bermuda Triangle yet. That name wouldn't come until, cue the dramatic music, August 1964. That is the moment the Bermuda Triangle became a household name. Writer Vincent Gaddis published an article in Argosy magazine that took all these disappearances and spun them into something much bigger. He connected the dots and for the first time gave this place a proper title, the deadly Bermuda Triangle. And suddenly, the world couldn't get enough of it. Hollywood jumped in. Books flew off the shelves. Soon every lost ship, every downed plane, every pilot who got a little lost was suddenly proof that something unnatural was going on. Of course, it wouldn't be a real mystery without some UFOs. Enter M.K. Jessup, a writer who went all in on the theory that the Bermuda Triangle was a hotspot for alien abductions. According to Jessup, some disappearances weren't caused by storms or human error, but by extraterrestrial intervention. Possibly the same aliens responsible for the so-called Philadelphia experiment. What's that, you ask? Oh, just a highly questionable World War II conspiracy where the U.S. Navy supposedly made a ship disappear and teleport somewhere else. Totally believable. But conspiracy or not, Jessup's ideas took off, fueling the Bermuda Triangle myth with even more high-octane suspicions. By the way, we've got a great episode about a lesser-known UFO outbreak from the past. Before Roswell, the bizarre UFO wave that shocked 19th century America. There's a link in the description. And now, let's take a look at some of the eyewitness accounts, the experiences of people who lived to tell the tale. In 1970, Bruce Gernon was flying over the Bahamas when he saw something strange, a tunnel-shaped cloud forming ahead of him. Before he knew it, his plane was inside the tunnel. And then, suddenly, he was 100 miles ahead of where he should have been. Radio signals were scrambled. His instruments went nuts, and yet, somehow, he had just traveled impossibly fast. Scientists say wind currents, instrument error, or just bad calculations. Gernon says time warp. We say this sounds like the kind of excuse I'd use when I'm late for work. Sorry, boss. Hit a time tunnel. So now we've got Columbus's 1490 ship's logs with a squadron of strange lights, Bruce Gernon's 1970 time tunnel, and now, how about a mid-1990s tale to round things out? Let's talk about Carrie Gordon Trantham. In 1995, she was flying home alone at night when something happened that it feels like it was ripped straight out of a psychological thriller. The ocean below her turned completely black. No waves, no reflections, just void. An unsettling emptiness stretched in every direction, and then her instruments flickered. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up, and that feeling you get when someone's watching you, she couldn't shake it. It grew heavier, like an invisible presence pressing down on her, lingering, just out of sight. She scanned the skies and the dark ocean below, but nothing was there, or at least nothing she could see with her eyes. When she finally made it back over land, her relief was immediate, but short-lived because there was no explanation for what had just happened. Did she fly through an electromagnetic field? A gas pocket? Or was something or someone watching from the shadows? We'll let you decide. Okay, so let's address the elephant, or should we say the phantom ghost ship, in the room. Scientists will tell you there's nothing special about the Bermuda Triangle. More ships and planes disappear here simply because it's heavily traveled. The area is known for powerful weather patterns, rogue waves, and when adding human error and a little Jamaican rum, it all adds up. And yet, the stories keep coming. It's easy to laugh at the more outlandish theories, but let's be honest. We all love a good mystery, and when a place has been swallowing ships and planes for centuries, well, maybe there's a reason we keep looking for answers. So what do you think? A scientific non-mystery? A real-life twilight zone? A bad stretch of ocean where pilots should probably double-check their fuel? Either way, the Bermuda Triangle has given us some of the strangest, most unsettling stories of the modern age. So many more than we have time to touch upon in this episode. Have you got a favorite Bermuda Triangle story? Share it in the comments, and maybe we'll do an episode on it. So here's an ounce. The Triangle, just like the rest of our universe, is full of mysteries. And the more we learn, the more we realize how much we still don't know. Seems the scope of the unknown only grows larger as we learn more. And knowing that, well, that should keep us appropriately humble. And that's it. An ounce submitted for your consideration. Thanks for watching An Ounce. True extraordinary phenomenon or modern mythology. It's fun to dive into the stories. And if you've ever wondered how stories like these take on a life of their own, check out our episode on fake vintage news, because sometimes a story doesn't just get lost in the Bermuda Triangle, it gets manufactured in the Old West. And you want to catch that documented story of a UFO breakout in 19th century America. Hey, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks.